Hi, I'm Javen Baker, and today we are talking. I said it last week. Cats. Now, you're probably thinking, what kind of cats? Like lions, tigers, bears? Oh my. No. The vampire video is going to be a little bit longer, so I'm still working on how I want to present it, also known as a procrastinating. So we are doing Crypt cats today, and they're a Ravenloft monster, and they're really freaking cool. So what it is it's a cat. It's a lot of times, normally it's a house cat, and 18 to 28 inches long, little cat. And except these are more like I don't know how zombie cats sound, but what they are, they're basically mummified domestic cats. They serve as tomb guards or like minions to an undead master. They're like little scary, terrifying balls of like rotting fur and flesh and teeth and fangs. Kind of like a normal cat, but just like more rotten, I guess. So they're usually created by like coating like a dead cat in a thin layer of clay with magical salves and oils, and when it's dried, it's painted to like the cat's fur. And a lot of times, copious amounts of like paint is used. Sometimes even gilded and stuff like that. When they animate for the first time, they shed this hard clay covering. It like cracks off like an egg. So it's like they're almost hatching out of an egg. Their true bodies are dry and shrunken, mangy clumps of fur kind of sticking to the hide. Lumps of dry clay still hanging on here and there. Teeth are like yellowed and like busted off, and their eyes are like husks that like rattle in their eyes. So it's really freaky looking. Like, imagine like someone just like dehydrated a cat, and that's basically what it's like. So they rest in stone or wooden sarcophagi, or coffins, I guess, that have been elaborately carved and painted. They almost always involve cats at play in an afterlife with mice and birds. Like, imagine like one cat and like just tons of mice and birds. There's really cool imagery, I think. Some cases they're painted to resemble the cat at houses, actually. In many cases, crypt cats have been fitted with expensive jewelry, golden bells, tiny gold ring through the ear. And typically opening the sarcophagus is enough to wake up the cat. So now we actually get to like what the cat does, which is kind of cool. They attack with 2 claws and a bite. And this is an older edition monster. I don't know if you'll find these in new editions, but you can easily like transfer this over. They attack with 2 claws and a bite. You can decide what kind of damage you want to do. If both claws hit, they rake with their rear claws, which is 2 more claw attacks. Anybody struck by these things must save versus poison for each scratch and each bite, or become diseased. The sickness usually is like a red inflammation around a wound, kind of like a big mosquito bite, I guess would be kind of a good way of putting it. But the crazy thing is the wound never heals. Even if magical curing is used, 1 point of damage for each wound will not heal until a cure disease or a full heal spell is used. Like the big, powerful cleric heal spell. Not just like a heal spell, but the heal spell. Higher level clerics who have access to the spell, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Cure disease is another one that can solve this issue, but it's there until this is done. They're typical undead. They're not bothered by charms, holds, sleep, death magic, nor poison. They're turned as ghasts in reference to other undead, unless they're in the presence of a more powerful master. Unless they can be, then they cannot be turned unless the master is turned first. How do they get to be this, right? So they begin their lives as pampered pets, sacred animals of a cat-worshipping cult. Their bodies are placed in tombs beside those of their master. So it's pretty common in even like Egyptian mythos, I think, is what pops to my mind when I think of this. They're placed, so these bodies are placed in these intricate tombs and basically to be sent to the afterlife with their master as spirits. They will fight until destroyed to defend their former master. They also rise from the sarcophagi to defend the tomb against desecration or robbery. So they're kind of guardians in that sense too. So, I mean, if nobody's not, as a DM, you have to choose whether or not you want these things to be woken up by somebody just entering a tomb. Typically, like, you want there to be some trigger essentially for it to wake, sufficient to wake it. I don't think people walking in the tomb is necessarily where you want to be, but it is possible. Just keep that in mind if you do use these, because they are pretty nasty. They're found in burial chambers, which we know that. A lot of times with like other non-magical cat remains and stuff like that. So like you might have a few mummified cats, and one of them might only be a crypt cat. The composition that makes the clay is unknown, although it's assumed that high-level necromancy is involved with maybe some transmutation even. Tough to say. It's possible to find a crypt cat that is removed from its tomb, but it's very rare. If the sarcophagus containing these is removed from a tomb without being opened, it drops the chance that it'll awake. If the lid is left off, it'll wake up automatically in 1 to 4 hours, or somewhere around there, 1 to 4 hours. So, thinking of that, you can actually use these outside of like an Egyptian setting. And this creature is from Ravenloft, I should point that out. So, I'm going to mute quick because I'm going to sneeze. I got the crypt cat disease. That's pretty much them in a nutshell. This is just a quick little video. I'll see if I can't find a picture of it and have it put in the thumbnail or something like that. One cool thing though to note is large cats are a thing. So like you can do like bobcats, or bobcat's not really a large cat. It's a larger cat, or ocelots, lions if you really feel cheeky, and then just up your damage to match the cat. Usually the monster manuals or DMGs will have your Dungeon Master Guide will have damage for things like this, and you just take that, use it, but add that like disease effect to it, and it can really help spice up some of these undead encounters rather than just skeletons and things like that. The bigger cats though, however, up the ante a little bit. Maybe the disease 2 points won't heal or something like that. And then they're turned as wraiths or something a little more difficult to turn. And yeah, I mean, you can just kind of do what you want with these. This is one of those creatures that's moldable, so you can kind of make it your own a little bit, but it just gives you an idea of something to try out. And it is a legitimate monster. I mean, it's an older one, but it's definitely a thing. So I'll get some pictures, and I'll see you next time with vampires.